Alright, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zachariah Connor, and this is my roommate Jadon Smith, and today we're going to be taking a look at his Squier, Jack Johnstone jazz bass.
Fail.
Let's try that again. Welcome to my channel. My name is Zachariah Connor, and this is my roommate Jadon Smith, and today we're going to be looking at his Squier signature Jack Johnstone jazz bass. It's a lot of J's.
Woo!
So Jadon is a bass player in Corvallis, and he plays in a band called Avocado Tuna and the Morningtide, which I'm a part of as well. And today we're going to look at his awesome bass.
Yeah, so this is the Squier Jack Johnstone signature jazz bass. And it's just kind of, Jack Johnstone is the bassist for Biffy Clyro. And he just kind of added his little touches to just a classic vibes jazz bass is essentially what it is. So, but if you were looking to review that bass, this bass is heavily modded. So honestly, it's not much of that bass anymore.
Yeah.
Just kind of the framework, but I kind of hot rodded it a lot. I think the only thing original is the neck, the body, and the bridge. But I'll kind of go through what I've done to it and just kind of some other things. So it's got a basswood body, maple neck with rosewood fingerboard. It's got the matching headstock in Lake Placid blue, which looks sweet. Originally, this bass had a mint green pickguard on it, but I changed it out for the tortoiseshell because I think it looks sick. It's got a very vintage look to it. The Lake Placid blue and the tortoiseshell, kind of like a 60s jazz bass, which I really wanted to go for. The pickups, I changed the pickups out for Fender Custom Shop 64 jazz bass pickups. Kind of was doing my research about different jazz bass pickups to do, and there was some other ones by other manufacturers, but I read a review that was like, dude, these Fender like pickups, like they sound pretty great, you know. Fender, of course, is the one who kind of made the jazz bass, so you'd think they'd be pretty good at making a nice jazz bass sound. So
better.
Yeah, they sound great for all my purposes, and they were kind of on one of the cheaper options instead of putting in, you know, like Aguilar or some high-end pickup. You put in this, and it sounds fantastic. I really like it. I changed out the wiring harness for a Obsidian wiring harness. Kind of went with that because I don't really have soldering equipment. One thing about the Obsidian ones is that it's just kind of a drop-in wiring harness system. It's kind of all there, each pot, and then the output jack, and it just kind of pops right in, and then it's got little kind of clippy doos that you just make sure your wires, you know, exposed enough and stick it into those and clip them shut. Is kind of how it connects instead of soldering. So some people might not like that because obviously a soldered connection will be better if you can, you know, get a good solder. But it's working great, and I love the tone of this is way better than the tone pot that was kind of originally in there with the capacitor it had. So yeah, that's fantastic. So that's kind of the meat of the tone is way different now than it was stock. But it's great. This is a perfect example of just kind of how you can take a cheaper end bass and kind of add, you know, put a couple $100 into it and get just a way better tone, comparable more to, you know, an American made or just better quality jazz bass or jazz style bass. So yeah, it's a lot of fun too. If you enjoy building instruments, I would say definitely give it a shot because it's cool. Another thing I did is that this bass originally had kind of gloss all along just a very thick polyurethane all along the neck and the back of the headstock and stuff. And I sanded the heck out of it. Totally sanded it off, even sanded down the tint. And I replaced it. I put some tongue oil on it. Yeah. Just put multiple layers of tongue oil. Tongue oil. And yeah, it is a lot smoother than, I personally am not a big fan of the polyurethane kind of feel on the back of the neck. But yeah, this is a lot smoother. It definitely sometimes can dry out a little bit, so like you gotta re-oil it here and there. I think I need to do that honestly, but keep it moist. Yeah, other than that, I think it's great. I mean, if you don't mind oiling here and there, like doing that to your neck. I know you've probably seen, if you're into bass stuff, like a lot of people do that, and gave it a shot, and I think it's great. So another thing I did is I just replaced all the tuners with Hipshot tuners. These are kind of
those are nice.
Yeah.
Chunky boys.
They're thick. They definitely won't fail you. They're just got a little bit more gearing to them. I think so. It's just a bit of a tighter tune. Just like get more precise with it. Yeah.
Are they heavier than the stock ones?
Yeah, they probably are, but I don't notice a difference. Okay. Overall, this bass is pretty heavy in general. Just the basswood is just a little bit of a heavier wood than like alder or something. But that's okay. Yeah. It's just kind of something you deal with. But yeah, other things, I guess the last thing is the bridge. It's kind of this is like a high mass bridge that Fender used to put on some like older Squiers and stuff. It's got a little bit more mass to it than like just a vintage style bridge, and then it's got brass saddles to kind of get more of a vintage sound, I guess is what you would think about with that. But yeah, I overall really enjoy this bass. Does me good. Yeah. So
yeah, I think like one thing that every guitar player should do, or bass player, you should do is like buy an instrument that's inexpensive, but it's a good modding platform, and then mod it until it becomes really, really good. Now, not every instrument is going to be, you can't just take a Squier Bullet Telecaster and make it incredible. You can, but that's going to be a lot more work than taking something like a classic vibe or a vintage modified from Squier or an Epiphone. But I've seen a lot of people make some really killer instruments, and my number one guitar is actually a Squier as well. So take notes, lads and lassies. You can do a lot, especially this neck. The neck thing that like doesn't take. It takes a little bit of skill, so you don't like take off the finish in the wrong place or like ruin the frets or something like that. But like, you know, that's not something that's incredibly difficult. It just takes a little bit of time. You know, it takes a couple afternoons and a little bit of know-how, but you can look that stuff up. So yeah, let's hear it. I think.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, and this bass is fitted with round wound strings. So these are more traditional than flat wounds. Actually, I don't know which came first, the round or the flat.
The flats came first. On a little history lesson because, originally upright bass, like double basses, were all that was being played.
And they had flat wounds.
They had flat wounds, just kind of like you would like a cello or anything. And then for a while, a lot of players used flat wounds on their basses. That's why a lot of like vintage like sound, people really love like the sound of flat wounds on like a P bass. Because a lot of players back in the 60s and stuff were still doing that. And when round wounds started coming out for bass, I've seen interviews where people were like afraid of round wounds. They were like, that's probably bad. But then it just caught on and it kind of became the standard. So of course, they're great. A little bit more versatile tone wise. You can get a little more out of them. So
they have a lot more treble. So like a flat wound is very smooth sounding, and these are a lot more bright. So if you like play slap bass, this is kind of what you want to go for. If you play more just like stuff with a pick or with your fingers, and you kind of want to just groove and like have a darker tone anyways, check out flat wounds. It could be a really good choice. So let's hear the bass.
Okay, so we'll just go everything full. So. Yeah, now we'll go give you the neck. Give you the bridge. We'll roll the tone off for you with both on. And then I guess kind of give you some pretty standard tones you would maybe try to get out of it. Another is just rolling the tone back a little bit, and that's with both pickups full on. That's pretty good. Pretty classic sound. Another, we'll try to get a little bit more of a kind of poppier, maybe like Jaco Pastorius kind of sound. I'll play something. So that's just, I rolled back the volume of the neck a little bit and then rolled the tone down a little bit, so just kind of get more of a and then played, of course, back towards the bridge. Some people like to get that tone out of it, just kind of a nice punchier tone. That's kind of what the jazz bass is known for. So, yeah.
You want to do some slap?
We'll do some slap tone.
So that's been the Squier Classic Vibe Jack Johnstone jazz bass. And so special thanks to Jadon for coming across the hall and doing these videos with me. Feel free to check out his band, our band, him, and us on the socials, YouTube, whatever. Check the description box. If you hated this video, yeah, give it a dislike. If you liked it, give it a like. If you think Jadon's playing his Shrexy, give us a comment. And yeah, with that, we'll see you guys later. Thank you.